Yo, what up, everybody, guys? How you doing today? It's not really exciting day uh, after seeing what has happened. Um, well, this was not the plan to talk about Somalia today in Mogadishu, but we have to talk a little bit about this. So if you're joining right now, please copy this link and share with somebody out there. Because it's important for us to talk about issues that are happening in Africa and things that are going on. I know this is not kind of energy you like to see today and things that we're going to be talking about, but it's very important for us to get information from Africa. All right. You might have seen the news already. I've just seen the news here a couple minutes ago. And, we had different plan, but we had to change all of a sudden because of what has happened. And let me just say, for the startup, let me just say my condolences to all the families that lost their beloved ones today unexpectedly. 8 people have been killed due to the explosion that happened at Mogadishu, and 9 people injured, right? And there's a lot of information out there, but I just thought that it's very important for us to come here and to stand with our people from, Somalia. As you have seen the title, say Africa must unite to fight against terrorism in Africa. I don't know the details of the event that has happened, but we're going to have our brothers and sisters from Somalia to share with us anything they know about the event that has happened today. So before I begin, let's just take a moment to pray. I'm just going to pray to opening up this session, but also pray for the families that are lost their families member, so that God may comfort them. It's very important. So let's just take a moment to open this session, and then my friends will be coming here today. God, I thank you for today. I thank you for the session that we're gonna have. I know it's not gonna be an easy one, because we have our brothers and sisters who died today. So I pray for the comfort to their families. I pray for the peace in Somalia. I pray that God, you will comfort them in this difficult time. As we're having this conversation, I pray that this will be the moment of being comforted with one another and to know exactly what's going on. But all in all, God, we're uniting together as Africans, and to pray even against all this brutality that is happening in Africa. We pray that it will come to an end. We believe, and we're going to act, because this is the year of action. I give you glory. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right. It's good to see Awo. Awo, I was really waiting for you, and I think I'll have you and my brother that we had here last time. I think, Awo, today you need to give me your WhatsApp number as well when you come here, so that it may be easy to reach out to you. My brother Sami as well, I know he's down there. So I'm just going to share this link and in the comment section, but I would love to have, first of all, one of my brother and sister from Somalia to come and share with us what has happened, to share with us the details. So if you want to know what has happened today, well, this is going to be the right moment, because you get a chance to hear from our friends from Somalia. Always good to see you. So I'm just going to drop this link, and you can come in and, share what's happening, what is going on. All right. Yeah. All in all, guys, I'm just going to remind you guys, whenever something happens in Africa, we have to be together. And then I realized that even here in Tanzania, I think it was yesterday, a crazy accident happened, and we lost a lot of media personalities. A lot of people died because of the accident that has happened just yesterday here in Tanzania. And it was a big news. It's a big news up to this moment. Today they were buried. So all these events, when they happen, I think it's the moment for us to come together and to stand with our people. All right, I have my brother here, Sami, already. Yes, my brother, how are you today?
Hi, Micah, how are you doing?
Man, I'll say the same thing, but it's good to have you here.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
Yeah. So, brother, without wasting, anything, I think a lot of people, they want to know what's really going on and what really has happened,
Yes.
in Somalia, so in Mogadishu today. So, if there's anything that you want to say, please, you can go ahead to inform people about what has happened there.
Yes, thank you. First of all, condolences and prayers to those that have lost their life, unfortunately, and also to the victim, the injured who are still in hospital. Earlier, you mentioned 8 have been confirmed dead, several injured, and unfortunately, it's expected that number could grow as well, depending on how severe those injuries were. Obviously, this has come at the time again. There's a lot of theories out there, but anyway, the group Alshabab have claimed responsibility. Al-Shabaab is a terrorist group that has been operating in Somalia for, over a decade now. And the nature of the attack, it happened in a region called Waberi, which is actually close by to the sort of heavily fortified area that a lot of the Westerners are in. It's called the Halana complex. What's interesting was that this attack has targeted the deputy governor of the capital city, Mogadishu, who's also the head of the security of the city. He was traveling in a convoy in an armored vehicle. He has survived the attack, and obviously that was, it has helped that he was traveling in that sort of armored vehicle. But obviously the bystanders and others have been, unfortunately, some of them have died. It's worth noting and, pointing out to your listeners and everyone that's watching us that this comes at an interesting time. So tomorrow, some of the people, they call themselves oppositions, but they're more of effectively stooges for the Westerners. They have been trying to organize so-called protest tomorrow, anti-government protest. Now, there's nothing wrong with anti-government protest, but it's obviously that you could see this was obviously a well-funded sort of a plan by, foreigners and other special interest group. Their requests have been denied due to obviously it didn't follow the sort of the legal or the procedure that's normally requested. They have been making demands and threats. So the question is then, one of the person that is responsible for making that call to reject that protest for tomorrow was the person that was targeted, Liya Regassa, who's the city security. So he's the one that actually survived the attack. So it begs the question, because a lot of times we hear that Al-Shabaab are responsible for, for a lot of attacks. But I want to point out to a lot of people, Al-Shabaab do exist. They are a terrorist group. But it's also worth pointing that a lot of the attacks, sometimes when it happens, it does get credit to them, right? And I think sometimes other attacks that have happened are done for other reasons. But because obviously Al-Shabaab exists, it gets pushed down to them. Now, they also have interest in this. Al-Shabaab, they want to cause as much chaos as they can. So again, it really begs the question, the timing of this event, the target, who they targeted, and also it's also worth noting that some of the videos that we have seen that have surfaced on a lot of different social media, it was mere seconds, and we have seen this sort of a trend that has happened when an explosion happens, as if someone was literally anticipating the attack, waiting in that location. So we are wondering how all of these sort of tied together, how all of this sort of, make sense, because was this planned? Was this person there recording and pretending, I just witnessed the attack to happen? Even the ambulance, it turned up to the scene 5 seconds after the explosion. How did the ambulance was so conveniently nearby? I mean, it's good that it was there, but again, we have to ask the question, the intelligence. It's also worth pointing out to your listeners that in Mogadishu, a lot of the NGOs and foreign companies that work in the region, either they claim to do for aid and charity, they actually notify their workers via text messages, sometimes to say, we expect an attack to happen, avoid these areas, via text messages. Everyone that lives in Mogadishu or has been in Mogadishu knows this kind of a system that is set up. So clearly the Westerns also have intelligence or knowledge prior before the attack is carried out. And, we got to ask the question, I mean, why are they not sharing that knowledge and information with the government? Why are they not letting the public know? So at least, a lot of the death and unfortunate injuries that occur could be avoided. So yeah, in a nutshell, I want to say those things to you, just for your listeners. I know I was listening, and I want her to jump in as well, so you can say her piece.
Yes. Appreciate it.
Yeah, what's something? Thanks for saying that, because a lot of people know in Somalia people know, but I don't think other people in Africa know this whole Alshabab situation. It's, you know, like if you look at any of the countries where currently so-called terrorists are operating, they're countries that are like rich in oil and certain resources, and so and it's always coordinated. Whenever there's a governmental dialogue going on, and there's the Somali people are behind their government, there's all these terrorism targets that happen. And it's interesting that someone said that they always are prepared to like video record themselves. They're prepared to send out text messages to their own organizations and communication that there's going to be this terrorist attack. There were also reports that the Helena area where the UN and all these Western organizations are located have been smuggling in weapons and bombs using UN chartered planes. And so that's why the government had to close down that airport. And now all of UN officials will have to go through the regular airport that everybody goes through, that civilians have to go through and get checked out, and all of their baggage and everything that they bring into the country will be checked. So this whole terrorism thing you guys are talking about, it's all orchestrated, it's coordinated. It's basically a proxy war that's going on in Somalia, and where these terrorist organizations are used to destabilize countries that they have interest in. And so, yeah, we're pretty much in a war, undeclared war at the moment with several countries. And so I just wanted to bring that out, that a lot of people don't know, you know, the details of what's going on the ground.
Who is funding Al-Shabaab, by the way? Somebody's asking here in the comment section. Do you guys know?
Well, no one knows. That's the thing. Is if it's we clearly suspect they are being funded. There's strong indication there are other countries, be it in the Gulf or even Western countries that fund them. And unfortunately, we will never be able to 100% confirm this, because it all goes through so many different proxies and so many different. So we will never know. But we got to ask the question: how a terrorist organization can keep itself so well funded, armed, fed its sort of, its people,
sustain themselves with bombs, and weapons. Yeah,
absolutely. So where is that all coming from? Clearly, there's a source or multiple sources that are available. So yeah, I hope that sort of gives your the person that asked the question a sort of a view of where we stand in terms of who funds Al-Shabaab.
It's kind of like the Syria kind of situation where ISIS was getting all these weapons and bombs through several avenues. It's kind of similar to that. So I don't know if anybody knows about the whole Syria situation, but it's similar to that.
No, it is. I mean, we've seen these sort of stories play out multiple times. Again, just to brief history. I mean, the capital, ever since the government fell, has been very unstable, and what's happened was in the early 2000s, a group of businessmen and local sort of clerics have come together to sort of say, listen, the capital is very unsafe. No one can live here. There was a lot of death and everything happening. So they created a council to say, let's try to improve the security of the country. And they've actually managed to do that for a few years. This was around 2004, 5-ish kind of thing. And when they were running that, honestly, conveniently, George W. Bush came out and said, oh, there is a Al-Qaeda linked group operating in Somalia. At that time, Al-Shabaab didn't even exist. So, one of the book I mentioned to you in one of the last time, Dirty Wars by Jeremy Scahill, he mentions that, America effectively using warlords to fund them in order to say, oh, we suspect there's a terrorist organization going around, go and kill them. And these warlords, all they did was just taking out enemies and anyone else they didn't like. Then magically, as you can imagine, in 2006, a group came out that called themselves Al-Shabaab. And they said, oh, we are allied with Al-Qaeda, and they start fighting. So, this is what it is. I mean, we've seen these sort of stories play out in other parts of the world. Like I was said, in Syria, Iraq, the same thing. Again, they got rid of a government. Call it what you want about that government. But at least, Saddam Hussein, but at least people weren't being blown up in the middle of the street. That's now happening, you know, and then suddenly we've got the ISIS and other groups that have come about. And again, just to point out how, you know, this threat, terrorism threat in Africa is, Mozambique is fighting another terrorist group who, by the way, ironically also call themselves Alshabab. They claim they have no relationship with Alshabab.
Yeah, so I was going to bring out thank you for bringing up the Mozambique one, because when Mozambique discovered their offshore oil reserves, I literally said to my friends, watch and see how Mozambique falls in the terrorism trap. And within like months, there was this whole news broadcasting about how there was this new terrorism organization that just popped out of nowhere in Mozambique. And all of a sudden, Mozambique was like fighting this terrorist organization that's also called Alshabab. But then recently, they changed the name of the terrorist organization that's operating in Mozambique. I can't remember what the name is now. But it's just crazy how like this happens to like very oil-rich regions and locations within, and also Nigeria. Let's not forget about Nigeria and the Boko Haram, and how Nigeria is also struggling with this, and they're also oil-rich nation. So go ahead. Sorry to just.
No, it's fine. Again, it's an African problem, right? And these groups, they always turn out. One interesting something that I read a few years ago was about Mali, right? There was a group, the Tuareg people, who sort of, you know, they are nomads. They travel sort of all over northern and sort of Western Africa. You know, that's their land. And these people, like, you know, Mali was going through, as far if my memory is right, the government's, I think, sort of some issues, you know, that there was lack of governance happening there at that time. So the Tuareg people were kind of thinking, look, these lands we've lived for centuries, right? So this is the land that's between Libya, Algeria, Mali, and I can't remember, you know, other land, because these borders, you have to remember, are drawn up by the colonials, right? So they grew up, they didn't care who lived in those lands. But the Tuareg people, for centuries, you know, they've roamed these lands, right? And suddenly they've been told, oh, now you're crossing over to a different country. Now you need a passport. So they were thinking of sort of like to say, listen, we need to, you know, do something about this issue. And as they were gaining popularity and strength, and, you know, amongst the people and others, suddenly France sends in their military to Mali, and they were like, oh, there's a terrorist group there in Mali, and we need to protect that. Now, it's worth pointing out that there is a French owned electricity company operating in Mali. And I don't know what they extract, but they extract some sort of a rare mineral from Mali. And the soldier was sent there to protect. And then suddenly a terrorist group came out in Mali that is still operating to this day. So, you know, you've got to wonder at some point, you know, how often do you have to see these sort of patterns that happen in these countries, that you got to wonder who is causing it and who's behind it. So, you know, one more point I want to raise to you is the UN in Somalia released a statement after the explosion that happened today. You know, and they said, oh, no, none of our people were targeted. You know, why are they releasing statements, you know? There is a famous known American news agency operating in America, and one of the journalists, he specializes about Somalia. He actually says that he's a terrorist expert. He's actually written a book about Al-Shabaab. And honestly, any of you guys, if you ever go, or if you know who I'm talking about, you go on his Twitter account, he literally posts mere seconds after an explosion has happened. Now, the reason this is noteworthy, I want to point out, is sometimes when you're in the capital and an explosion happened, it doesn't dawn on you quickly. You know, sometimes you don't know when it happened. So some of the locals don't even know when the explosion happened. And this guy reports on it mere seconds after it has happened. And he always talks about how, you know, what the reason is. You know, he always talks about from the Al-Shabaab point of view. And this is an organization in America that says that they report stuff about Somalia. So, you know, it's all there, honestly. I'm lost for words. I don't know what else I could say about this other than saying, look, just follow the trends and make up your own mind, you know?
Yeah.
Hello?
Yes, Mwenda Tezi.
Yeah, this thing of Al-Shabaab makes me very bitter. You know, these guys have also been terrorizing Kenya for a while now. You know, that I think just this past week, actually. No, I don't know why I forgot to mention it, maybe in our past live, but 6 people died this past week in Kenya alone because of an attack. These guys really, they are very, yeah?
Well,
so these guys are really menace. Yeah. Good. Lamu.
Wow.
What happened?
There was a militant attack in Lamu, which is in the border of, it's a border town between Somalia and Kenya.
Wow. Okay.
You've seen it?
I mean,
Yeah, this is so these guys are.
What was that? Can you repeat it? I didn't hear, brother.
Lamu. There was a militant attack in Lamu between the border of
Just
Kenya
recently?
and Somalia. Yeah, this past week, I think. It's definitely
last week Monday.
Oh.
It's this week, huh?
Last week Monday.
Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, you see?
Yeah.
Last week Monday. Yeah. So so this is they have really been a big issue in East Africa. These guys have been really terrorizing. I remember that time when they killed university students in Garissa. I don't know if you guys remember that.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
They killed them in their sleep.
They were calling. They were making those students. They were making those students call their parents. Then they are shooting them when their parents are on the phone call. It was a very.
Oh, I just
it was just so bad.
Else with
And
you guys. Can I share something else? So recently, there was a program that came out in a while back where like some of the Alshabab members in Somalia were caught alive, and they confessed that they were getting paid money. So they said that they were getting like $1,000 a month or something like that. I can't remember exactly the amount they were talking about, but they said they were getting paid and that they were getting recruited by people that like they would like target people who were like who came from like really poor backgrounds, and they're actually from like all over the world. They're not even Somali ethnicity wise, and some of them are foreigners. And they were saying that, when they were captured, they were asked, like, why did you come to Somalia? This is not even your country. Well, why would you even die and, like, sacrifice your life for this? And they were just talking about how, like, they did it because their parents, like, their family back home needed money, and that they were recruited, and that they were getting monthly salaries. So I want you guys to know that, too. Like, this is, like, a coordinated effort. It's not some random person who just woke up in the middle of the night and decided to join this terrorist organization. It's, people who are recruited, people who are getting financed, who are getting paid, people who are getting the supplies and the training to, like, there's no random person who just wakes up and says, oh, I know how to make a bomb. Like, I know how to create all the ingredients. I'm a, engineer, and I know how all the wires connect. You know what I'm saying? Like, all these people are like trained, they're getting the training, they're getting the supplies, they're getting paid. It's all very coordinated. Sorry to interrupt you, brother. Go ahead and continue. I just want to share that.
My point was, and that I understand that there are so many terrorism groups all over Africa. But my point is, how do we stop this Al-Shabaab? How do we put an end to these people? What is the solution? That was my question.
The solution is simple. Al-Shabaab is not just an enemy, a scourge, just to Somalia, but to the region, as you mentioned, Kenya as well now. The only solution is a strong, stable Somalia. That's when Al-Shabaab will be defeated, because they won't have anywhere else to operate or hide or be in it. So I would encourage the Kenyan government to also be an ally in helping Somalia stand up against the fight against Shabaab. And that's the way to defeat it. You have to understand, there's people that profit from chaos. Al-Shabaab now, other warlords, and other people that just want to steal or, have some sort of illegal lifestyle. Once the government comes into place, once we have a strong army that can control its borders, that knows what's coming in and out. I mentioned earlier, for example, the airport. There was a terminal. I think I might have mentioned last time we were talking, there was a terminal that specifically is for the Westerners that live in Mogadishu. And the government cannot control, the immigration services don't even operate in that terminal, which means we don't know what comes in and out. There's a strong indication that a lot of weapons and other things are being smuggled in. So as long as the government of Somalia is kept weak and sort of, on his knee, Al-Shabaab will continue as it is. But it's also worth pointing out to the brother, I think it's very important as well, that Al-Shabaab is not as strong as it used to be. There was times they were actually causing explosion and killing people very close to the Villa Somalia, which is where the president actually lives and operates. That hasn't happened for over 5 years. Statistically, if I have the stats, and I will share with you, Micah, you can put it up, is the last 5 years, the number of attacks carried out by Al-Shabaab has actually gone down. And that is a strong in correlation to the strength of the military that's being trained in Somalia right now. There's a lot of Turkey is one of the countries that are training the Somali army, intelligence. There's now a discussion that we get in drones that will hopefully increase in number of intelligence. America has trained some soldiers, but again, that's question mark in terms of what they've done with it. But they've closed the base that they were operating from beginning of this year, January. So that is it. But at least the number of armies, this government has made a commitment to increase the number of soldiers. And as long as that continues, we are seeing a drastic decrease of the number of attacks. So this attack has happened, unfortunately. People have lost life. But if you look at it in the grand scheme of things, for the last 15, 20 years, actually, there's a very visible, clear indication that attacks of Al-Shabaab has gone down. And that is, in a way, which goes back to my point, to your question, brother, which is a strong government in Somalia will be a strong asset and an ally to the region, because that will defeat Al-Shabaab. And so lastly, sorry, I'm talking too much, is we need to also cut the oxygen of Al-Shabaab in the sense of they feed off young people, right? When you have a lot of young people that have no hope in life, that, they won't have no education, or even if they get education, there's no chance at all for a job, right? Some of them can never get married, so they become hopeless. And unfortunately, yes, they do exist people that take advantage of that. So one of the ways, there's a quote I read a while ago, which says the foundation of any country is basically the education of the youth. So once you do that, you educate them, you get them something to do, you are effectively drawing that sort of resource away from Al-Shabaab and, putting them into their country to build their country. And that's another way as well, other than just the military and intelligence, but you also have to look at civically as well what you could do. I think those two things, with a strong government, can achieve that. And this is why now we are all saying as Somalis, we need to get behind this government, because at least we are seeing now some sort of an end to this chaos, and we are on the road of recovery.
Yeah, so to stop Al-Shabaab is not a big deal. Like, we already see some of the evidence of the past 5 years. The new Somali army, especially the new special forces, were able to take over 70% of the Somali territory and dismantle a lot of the areas that Al-Shabaab used to operate from. So if we continue with that model and we continue taking over some of these areas that they usually, plan and disrupt inside Somalia and also other countries within our neighboring region, then, we will be able to defeat this whole Al-Shabaab issue within, the next 2 years or 3 years, if the model continues as is. But also, we need to be very cognizant about who, in terms of foreign countries, who we allow engagement. We need to be very aware of who our true enemies are. And, they've shed a lot of bloodshed in Somalia. And we need to be very, we need to have a very, well thought out, foreign policy towards them, because what they're doing is very unacceptable. Destabilizing regions, arming militants, killing civilians is very unacceptable. It's very hawkish. They're pretty much a terrorist themselves, a country. And their own citizens don't even support these kind of things. They don't know that their countries are doing this in other regions in Africa. So I think we need a robust strategy in terms of foreign policy, but also regionally, we need to support our armies. We need to have a very directed plan when it comes to fighting. You can't just like go into a region. Like the reason why the Somali army and the special forces have been very successful so far in terms of like eradicating like 70% of the land from Al-Shabaab is because they've used on-ground intelligence. They've coordinated their attacks. So they weren't just going in there blind and just like shooting up the place. You know, it was very coordinated. It was very strategic and well planned out. So that is what I would say is the goal forward. And I don't think we should be scared of Al-Shabaab. They're not a very strong, you know, they're not like a well coordinated army. They're like a bunch of mercenaries that have been recruited. So if you have a very trained army, you can very much defeat them really easily. And Somalia has shown that in the past 5 years.
Yes. Go on, Michael.
Someone is asking here in the comment section, what if any what if any Somaliland and Puntland can play in helping Somalia get stronger and more organized?
I think that question is actually flawed and coming. I'm not attacking the person asking it, but it's worth pointing out these regions. These are just part of regions of Somalia, and there is a strong foreign influence also for the improve of security in these regions, because you gotta wonder why there's certain parts of Somalia are seeing Al-Shabaab doing these kind of things, while in other areas they don't. And you gotta wonder why. So so a lot of us Somalis, you know, Al-Shabaab, end of the day, Somalia is a very tribal country, and Al-Shabaab has you know, they are a political group as well. They have political ambition, and they also use tribalism. One of the example I can give you is there's a guy right now who claims he's sort of, I'm no longer part of Al-Shabaab, but he was actually a top official of them. And one of the reasons he actually left Al-Shabaab is not because he suddenly grew conscious and, you know, he's regretful of what he's doing. No, the only reason he left them was one of the top, the leader of Al-Shabaab at that time ordered him to go and kill a couple of older men, sort of tribesmen. And those tribesmen were at the same tribe as the guy. So he refused based on that, because they were same tribe. And he left, he had a disagreement based on that. So that just literally shows you Al-Shabaab itself is tribal. And, you know, for example, UK, they train certain soldiers in north of Somalia, and they claim their focus is fighting terrorism. But why didn't they do the same tactic in the south of Somalia or other parts of Somalia? So, you know, this question is, I think it's, you have to understand the inner working of Somali society, the tribal element of it, the political element of it. And, you know, even the creation of these states, you know, is a point of contention for a lot of Somalis. So, it's, you know, I hope that gives an idea.
Can I chime in? So this whole, I'm from the so-called Somaliland that people talk about. We don't actually have 100,000 troops army-wise. You have to understand that's the figures that these people that are saying they're a government, who the majority of the people are against. The majority of people who live in northern Somalia say they're part of Somalia. That's why northern Somalia can never get recognition, because they can never have a referendum, because they know that the majority of the people will say that they want to be part of Somalia. So they never want to go through a referendum to separate from Somalia. And that's the only way that they can separate from Somalia is through a referendum, and for the Somali government in the federal region to recognize them. But they know that from coast to coast, 90% of the people support the federal government and they want to be part of Somalia. So I just want people to be educated more on what this whole Somaliland thing is in Somalia. This whole Somaliland thing happened when the civil war happened. There were militants who took down, you know, we talked about this in our last conversation. There was like 5 different militants that were being trained by different foreign countries, and they were getting weapons from them. And that's how the government of Somalia fell in 1991. And so these militants became what they call warlords, and these different warlords took part of different regions. So the SNM, who were part of one of the militants, took over the northern side of Somalia and decided to call themselves Somaliland. I just want you guys to know the history. That doesn't mean that everyone who lives in all the populations who live in the northern side of Somalia support these militants. Their history is known by the Somali people, and they don't support them. The only reason that they have a stronghold until now is because the United Kingdom and other European countries give them weapons and support them. So just to give you guys those ideas, a lot of the youth in the northern side of Somalia actually moved to the southern region of Somalia, and they work there. They have established businesses because they don't want to be part of that. And a lot of our Somali special forces that have been trained, that have been fighting the Alshabab people, have also been coming from. A lot of them have been coming from the northern regions as well. So there's no division inside Somalia. When you're an outsider and you see these things, and you hear about Somaliland and Somalia and all this Puntland, know that within the country there's a different dynamic, and you have to be very well versed in the culture and in the regional history, just to educate people on that.
Absolutely, that's an excellent point. Actually, again, pointing out to the people, when people talk about non-Somalis, when they talk about Somaliland and all this kind of thing, you have to remember, to a lot of Somalis, is actually it's quite insulting, actually, because think about it. You're part of a country, and then suddenly someone outside saying, "Oh, your country needs to be divided," and you wonder to yourself, "Well, I've never had that agreement. Why you want to divide my country, right?" So, as Awa said, there is a lot of dynamics and a lot of history in there that people don't know of. Somaliland doesn't exist. It's effectively Somalia itself is a tribal country. People live based on tribes. In the North Somalia alone, there are multiple tribes that reside within there. And just so happens to be that the one that have the majority there is the one that are pushing for secession from Somalia. Then you got to ask yourself, if you're not Somalis, why are you in agreement with that when the other tribes don't agree with that? Why should we give away a large portion of the land just so at least one group of people can dominate when the others don't agree with it? So that's one thing I want to say. The other point I also want to point out, which is also very important, is one of the former leader of Al-Shabaab, who was killed by drone attacks during the Obama administration, actually hails from north of Somalia. So the question that you asked me earlier, Micah, again, there's a reason why certain parts of Somalia is safe, quote unquote, and others are not. And, I wonder, why would someone from the north travel all the way to the south and say, "Oh, I'm going to wage a holy war," whatever? I mean, doesn't charity start at home? If you feel like there's something wrong, shouldn't that person start within their region? But they haven't done that. So it begs the question, why that person feel the need to go and be the leader of a terrorist organization in the south when he has family and his whole history comes from the north? So, his name is Ahmed Godane, if your viewers want to look him up. And last point is what? Yeah, go on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I will finish up later. Go on.
Oh, I was just going to say that, the reason why Mogadishu is always targeted by the terrorist group is not because Mogadishu is, fundamentally unsafe. Actually, a lot of people from the east, the north, the middle regions all live in Mogadishu. It's the most populated city. It has the most, businesses and everything is going through that region. But the reason is because basically that's where the government is concentrated. And so the goal of these terrorism and the destabilization in Africa is to destabilize the government. Once you destabilize the government, which, Somalia is a classic example. And I want, other African countries like Mali, whether it's Mozambique, who's currently also suffering from these new terrorist groups, is to consider like Uganda, who now also started up in there. So you have to know that the terrorist groups will only attack where the government is, right? Once you destabilize the government, you can always put up, the person or the group or the militants that are with you in these other regions where you can extract gold, where you can extract oil and put your, these stooges there, basically. So basically, I want people to know that, terrorism is a tool of destabilization. It's meant to destabilize the country. It's meant to, so that, Somalia has been the only African country that I know so far where the natural resources haven't been looted. And the only reason is because they have very strong, what they call sultanate structures, where the people, you know, consult with their elders and they consult with their leaders, and everybody, you know, like if something happens in one region, everyone in Somalia will know right away, and they will mobilize and help those people. So, so the eastern side of Africa is going to have tremendous pressure in the coming years, because if you combine Somalia and Mozambique and all these other countries, you could also add Mali to it. And the reason why Mali was being attacked is because of their uranium. I think you remember that, Mika. So we're gonna see more of this, and we have to like push back, rebuild the army, make sure that we make the government more stronger and stabilize the region as much as possible.
My question that I want to ask, and I'm glad that I have Mwenda Tezi here as well from Kenya. My question I want to ask, how can we, because as you can see, guys, the title say Africa must unite to fight against terrorism. How can we, as Africa, how can we organize or unite to actually fight against that? Because, for instance, just taking an example of Alshabab, you know, Kenya, they're having that issue with that. Somalia, I'm not sure about Uganda, but I think I've heard about that before. So one of the ways I think all these countries, when they come together, we can actually fight against this group and, you know, eradicate them if possible. The same thing to the Western Africa as well and other parts. What are your suggestions, guys? Like when you look at Africa, I think, you know, we always say together we are strong, right? And we need to come to the point where we'll say that, you know what, no more terrorism in Africa. And how can we fight these guys and send them to hell, like for good, that they will not come back. They will not take innocent lives like what just happened today.
If I can start off, so that question is an excellent question, and it has solutions, but it needs a holistic approach to it. And what I mean with that is, as terrorism is caused by multiple things, and we need to highlight those things before we can think of a solution. Right. I mentioned the first one. Yes, the first one I mentioned was they have, for example, Somalia, 70% of the population under the age of 30. That is a huge resource to groups like this. You know, when they have a lot of young men or even sometimes women they have used in attacks who are, again, disfranchised, who feel no hope in life. We need to find a way how we can draw that oxygen away from them. A lot, even Kenya, the problem sometimes also institutionalized corruption and other issues. Same thing with Somalia and other part of the country. We need to enable a civic, good governance society that allows the young man, if they want to pursue an academic path, if they want entrepreneurship, other ways they can have, you know, in America, they say pursuit of happiness, right? At least for the person to be able to be on the path in order to improve their life. Right now, a lot of the people that have been caught, I know about Somalia, I'm not sure about Kenya, is when they get asked, you know, they talk about it. Look, I've watched interviews of Alshabab people that have been caught just before the explosion or the act they've done, or sometimes they've given themselves up. And they literally said that I have been approached by so-and-so, and they promised that they're going to give my family money if I did this act, if I killed myself. And, you know, that itself is a tragedy in life, right? That these people feeling so hopeless in life that they fear about their family or their mothers or fathers not, you know, starving to death, that they're willing to kill themselves. So, you know, there's a promise that they will be fed. So we need to ask ourselves, what can we do in order to alleviate that? And unfortunately, yes, Africa, there's a lot of corruption. Somalia is one of them, Kenya is one of them, and I'm guessing a lot of other African countries, right? When you have leaders that sit at the top and they have no problem, no moral question, they, you know, the moral compass is pretty much non-existing. They can, you know, live on, you know, extravagant lifestyle, and then leave their compounds, you know, well-guarded household, and then they see all this poverty on the side of the road. And, you know, they don't ask themselves, you know, why am I doing this, you know? So, yeah, I mean, this issue, as much as it's a security issue, is also a civic issue as well. We need to look at it as a society. What can we do in order to create an environment where a person is not going to look at to say, I'm willing to do this? And again, from the security perspective, I would also mention, for example, NISA, which is the Somali Secret Intelligence Group. There was a French report last year that came out, and it actually ranked the Somali agency as one of the top in Africa. because they actually infiltrate these groups. They actually prevent a lot of the attacks. And this ties into my earlier point, Micah, when I said the number of attacks in the last 5 years has dropped. This government has put in a lot of resources in. So what I mean with that is there needs to be a cooperation between the same intelligence agency in Kenya with Somalia. Right now, for political reasons, there's not much cooperation happening between these two countries, right? So we need to, again, enable a situation politically that is beneficial for both countries, right? Where they share intelligence, where they can apprehend these people before they even go and do these attacks. So I would answer that question in a nutshell, because I don't think it's a yes or no answer, but it's a, again, holistic approach to your question.
All right. Mwenda, what is your thought?
Yeah, actually, I agree with my brother here. And I'm also aware of there is, I think, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, there is a system in which they share intelligence, because I've heard of cases where Kenya has shared intelligence with Uganda, and they have happened to, when they see suspicious people who are crossing the border, or people who are in persons of interest, there usually there is a system in place to share intelligence. I don't know about the Somalia one, because of course of the political situation in Somalia and Kenya. But I live in Mombasa, and here in Mombasa, I can tell you for a fact that there are Alshabab recruiters here. And usually you find that they are usually, I don't know how to say it with being politically correct, but they're usually high-ranking Muslims in the mosques. Not all of them, but usually that's where a lot of the recruiters, they have this title of sheikh, or I don't know. They usually, and they target youth. They target youth that in Mombasa. I think all over East Africa and even Africa, the situation for the youth is not very proper. You can even see our youth crossing the Mediterranean Sea, trying to look for a better life. So if some will cross the Mediterranean Sea, some will join Al-Shabaab. So it is also, you have to look at the economic situation, because I understand that for me, the word is Al-Shabaab pay well. That is the word on the street, that they pay well. I don't know. Now I was also curious, where do they get this money to pay people like youth? Because that is the promise they're given. In fact, I can tell you,
they promise these people money. I don't know if they do give them money, but the ones that were caught, do they do? The ones that were caught
because that's the allure
did
of them.
confess. Oh yeah, the ones that were caught did confess that they were getting monthly salaries, but they don't know who was giving them the money. So there's this coordinated effort of like recruiting youth across these regions, and other, sometimes they also have like the high-ranking ones are foreigners, not of African descent. I need you guys to also know that as well. So there's a very coordinated effort. Obviously, there's a lot of talks of who is funding them and who's giving them salaries. But yeah, this is true.
To my brother, if I can just go back to him, I mean, I know the point you were making, and I agree with it, but it's also worth pointing out, and I'm sure you agree with me as well. It's not a religious issue. 1.2 billion or 3, I think it is, billion Muslim around the world. A lot of the countries don't have a terrorism problem. So this is not a religious problem. I want to really stress this point.
It's not religion. They use religion as a tool. But I also wanted to share one story. There was a guy who was caught, who they interviewed. I think Nisa interviewed him, and he said that he wasn't even a Muslim. He was Christian. So it's not, this thing is not a religious issue. It's they are trying to target the most vulnerable people in these societies and try to recruit them and trap them into this like payment system.
Yeah, I mean, again, I want to highlight. I mean, to me, I really I don't even look at what religion they claim to be. End of the day, what's the point asking a murderer or a rapist what exactly he believes? There's no point asking these people that commit the acts or willing to commit the act what religion, what God they pray to. The point is they are murderous criminals. That's what we need to focus on. So obviously they use the cover of religion, and yes, sometimes it does work on some disfranchised youth. So my brother, you're right. Of course, sometimes they hide in mosques, right? Where they prey on young people. They actually watch them, where they live and what sort of lifestyle. And even in the West, in the UK, there have been a lot of cases where there's some terrorist attacks. And when they've done report, they find out these are youth that live in impoverished hood area, right? Where people have followed them for weeks, months, even years. And then after that, gave them all the nice, talk to them about nice lifestyle or making something, a name for yourself, and then go and do something. So, I mean, that is unfortunate situation. And with Kenya as well, it's worth pointing out that the West knows that there's fault lines within the Kenyan society. For example, you have people with different ethnicity, just like with any other African countries anywhere else. And, they tap into that, right? So one day, for example, I mean, there's no doubt that these Westerners, they are well aware of who's funding and all these top officials of Alshabab, where they are, right? If they really invest into it, they can take them out, they can kill them. But I feel like they use it as a tool in order to keep certain societies and countries in certain situations. For example, in Kenya, the same thing, right? So it's not only just Alshabab in Somalia, but it's also Alshabab in Kenya, right? So they want to force that and create that tension within society. So Kenya can never be whole. Kenya can never have a very homogeneous society. And that's one thing that we really need to keep in mind. And the other point my brother raised that I alluded to earlier was the cooperation between the two countries. I mean, there have been several incidents where a fugitive that was wanted by the Somali government who has committed atrocity, they ran over across the border into Kenya, and they were hiding in certain region. Now, because politically there's no, and vice versa as well, they across the border from Kenya to Somalia. Now, because politically there's no cooperation between them, that creates this vacuum. Again, who's the winner? Al-Shabaab. So we really need to stress that point that we, as one, in order to defeat the terrorism group, we need the cooperation between the two countries. We need the leaders to step up and have a vision to say, we need to defeat this enemy because this is the enemy for all. Worth pointing out as well, lastly, all the majority of the victims of Al-Shabaab, be it majority in Somalia, but also in Kenya, as my brother mentioned last week, is civilians, innocent civilians, bystanders. So these groups, you got to wonder, who are they targeting? And, of course, these are civilians. If they're really fighting for someone, they'll be targeting government officials or military outposts, but they're not doing that. So it's a system to keep those countries and us in that level to make sure we never look up. But there is hope and there's a way of doing it, but we just need to put that in practice.
Yeah, definitely. It's really sad. I agree with you guys. It's really sad how much these people are destroying the image of certain religions because of what they do and what they claim they're doing for. It's crazy, and I hope we'll use this platform to bring that awareness, because a lot of people, they have misconception of the religion and constantly relating these people and their religion and what they do. But as you say, brother, well, Same, it's crazy, because whoever that claims to worship God or to know God will never do such a thing, such kind
Absolutely.
of thing. So it's obviously it's something else that we should all, like all of us, we should realize that this it's something that it's crazy. It's not the God we know, it's not Allah we know. It's something else, and we don't know what is that. It's very important for us to know that, so that we may not create division in us again. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing in Christianity that says go and kill innocent people. And
No, there's nothing like that.
Exactly. And in Islam, there's literally a verse in the Quran that says if you kill one man or one person as if you kill the whole of humanity, it's actually in contradiction to religion. So obviously these people, they have no reason to do this. So and another thing, Christianity and Christians and Muslims have lived in these regions for centuries.
Yeah.
Why are we seeing now this thing in terrorism against Muslim against so and all these kind of things? It's obviously a problem that have been created. We need to ask ourselves by who and who's benefiting from. That's what we need to focus on. But they want us to focus against one another. This group did this, that group did that, but that's not the issue. We need to look at the wider picture.
Yeah, because if we focus on that, actually, what's gonna happen is that it's just gonna keep dividing us more, because we'll have more reason to hate this group because of that, and hating this group because of that. But I think we really have a lot of people that are talking about education here. Education is really important, this issue, and also really need to look at the bigger picture, as you say, to look at why this is happening, and what is the source. For example, the question that were asked, our brother Brain asked here before, like, who is funding these people? Because these are very, small groups, but they seem to have a lot of power because of all the weapon and everything that they do. Who is behind them? And the way that you suggested, well, Same, I think that will take, for me, I think that will take long time to take these people down. For example, talking about education, raising a community, a society that will not be easily manipulated to go and to join and to do what these people are doing. But we need the short-term solution, because these things are happening right now. We need something that can actually solve these things, like this week, next month, next year. And we can have long-term solution like that, but we need the short-term solution to stop this. Obviously, for me, I will always say this unit that we have, it's a huge factor that we are not cooperating. We're not because man, look at African Union. If like, man, I wish Tunisia was here, because Tunisia is always talking about defense. And yesterday we were talking about security here. I think he'll be like, guys, I told you yesterday. Like, we're really it's a time for the whole African Union to really think about having an army, an African army that will fight against these enemies from within, people who are being used to take down our governments, to take down our people, to kill our people. We really need a united army that will really take care of this. Like, we start from one place to another place, taking care of this, taking them down as soon as we can before we lose, many people, as is happening right now.
I mean, interestingly, Micah, interestingly, the point that you made, I was actually reading about today, and you could tell me a bit more about this, actually, the East African Federation with the 6 countries. I think that's a step in the right direction. Again, when you have 6 African countries that are working together, and I hope as part of the agreement, there's involvement of the militaries between them, hopefully the intelligence between them, and hopefully that, should make, that region a little bit safer. And we need something similar to that happening between Kenya, Somalia, and Ethiopia. I think one of your commenters actually mentioned that as well. Cooperation is bigger, because look at Europe after the Second World War. They understood that if you have so many different hard borders, there's always it's easy for you to otherize others. You put people in boxes, and when you otherize others, it's easy for you to hate them and eventually attack them, and you have some sort of war. So what did they do? They created the European Union, which is now one of the biggest, most powerful alliance in the world. So Africans need to understand that alone they cannot work on it. So you need not only do you need your country to be safe, but you need your neighbors also to be safe. And in order to do that, you need to work with them and create the alliance. And, you create some sort of Eastern Africa alliance, the East African Federation, and, keep expanding that. And eventually the goal is to have a united Africa. But Micah, I agree. I take your point. Obviously, these are solutions that could take quite a long time to implement. And that itself is kind of unacceptable, because people are dying, right? Lives are being lost. So we do need an immediate action. But, as much difficult is to accept this, there's still hope in all of this. One other point I want to raise, and I want to, at least tell your viewers and give you some sort of a hope in this sort of a dark situation like that happened today, is there has been a lot of programs that have been created in Somalia in order to re-educate some of these former fighters. These are fighters that have themselves surrendered, and some of them they put through trials, and after they finish their trial and conviction, they have been put into re-education centers where they actually taught skills. And that, to me, that is a huge thing, right? Because again, it's part of the educational and the progress that we mentioned earlier. You need to be able to give people hope. So that program is happening in Mogadishu and other part of the country, but Mogadishu is the main center. So when people surrender themselves and they say, I'm willing to move away from Alshabab, they get sent to the capital. And then basically they put in a camp for several years, and taught and re-educated effectively, about their religion, about the ideology, and then after that they're sort of given some sort of a training, carpenting, hands-on experience, so then they could go and find a job. So there is hope into this, but still we're a long way off. But unfortunately, there's no silver bullet of fixing all of this situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, appreciate for that. Mwenda Tezi, you want to share a little bit there, if you know anything about East African Federation?
Oh, I think I know a lot about the East African Federation.
Because I remember you spoke about it before.
Yeah. I'd like to first of all highlight that first. I have three things to say. Let me start by a short critique of the Kenyan government, because at some point I have to, because I'm Kenyan, I can tell you maybe their contribution to Alshabab, because I feel not like monetary, but there is a task force that kills Muslims in Kenya, not Muslims specifically, but suspected Al-Shabaab leaders, and this task force, I don't know, and it's public. It's not a secret, but it's just a public thing. They go, the moment they suspect you to be affiliated, they come and they start with a whole team comes and takes you down. And sometimes they are wrong, and they kill prominent Muslims. You get so, and you find that this thing, it breeds another level of bitterness in there, some discontent amongst our brothers in the Muslim community, and and it becomes a very vicious circle. Now you're just pushing recruits to the you give Al-Shabaab more propaganda tools. That look, you see, it is us against them. It becomes like that. So I really don't like this thing, and not only I've seen it criticized all over. Even the media criticizes it. But they say it is necessary. I don't know. They say they have caught many bad people. That is what they claim. But I feel like it is a double-edged sword, that one. Then now let me
go on. Sorry.
Okay. Then let me talk about something positive. Also in Kenya, there is the Church of Kenya and the Islam, the Muslim clerics, and the church and the Indians. They actually have one organization in Kenya, and they operate like one organization. And they usually, even in political stance, they take the same political stance. They are usually, when they have press conferences, you find the head of the Muslims in Kenya, he speaks with the head of the church. They usually come together, and they come together. They are always one voice.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. That's and it's actually a very interesting. It's just one organization. They have although they take stance in moral issues, they take this one voice. When they say, our brothers in the LGBTQ, they always come. They are very active on that issue. Yeah. They come together and
please finish.
They come together and because of that, they give. There's not a lot of disunity. There's not a lot of tension between religions in Kenya, because I think it's because of they have a very big contribution because of this one voice that they speak. Because it seems they make it look like Muslim interests are the same as Christian interests, are the same as Indian interests, and they make it like that. They don't even. It really removes the tension, and I feel like you can feel that if they were fighting, the opposite would be worse. So at least they are one voice. They even have one organization. It's actually an organization, and they usually have press conferences, and they all come at one. They have meetings there. It's always even when they address politicians, they are all addressed as one. So I really like that.
Yeah, let me just say this, with the first point you pointed, and we, not only that, but throughout Africa, we have seen a lot of events. Even when you go to Nigeria or different corners of Africa, you find let me just say that it's disgrace for anyone to be targeted because of his or her religion. It's disgrace for people to be targeted, to be killed just because of their religion. That, oh, you're Muslim, you're a terrorist. Oh, you're a Christian, we're going to take you down. It's disgrace. And Africa, it needs to get out of that curse. I don't know who cursed us with that, but this religion, the way it divides people in Africa, and people are targeted because of that. If you go to Nigeria, you see a lot of people are being killed. A lot of people are dying. And media, they're not even talking about it. It's crazy. If we would have our brothers here from Nigeria, they will share with us, but it's crazy. But you'll find the same thing in a lot of African places. This is illiteracy. This is crazy. This is disgrace to happen. And I think it's the time. It's a time for us to speak against it. It's a time to show action. And I think what is happening here, what we are having here today, and what we're going to continue to have, it's beautiful, because this is how it's supposed to be.
And I respond to the brother. So, you know, extrajudicial killings, it's not just only, like you said, Micah, it's not only just in Kenya, it's other parts of Africa as well. And I don't know why politicians or leaders of those countries see that as a solution. All you're doing essentially is you're creating, you're effectively giving them more ammunition. People that normally don't agree with Alshabab or other terrorist organizations, but when they see their family members or friends just being killed on the street, where the execution of the judge is that person that just shot them on the street, then, you know, that creates a hatred, that creates, this mentality of like, you know what, I might as well just do something about it. And that is not a solution. And unfortunately, it's not only just Kenya. You mentioned Kenya, I mean, Nigeria, that incident where a lot of police officers, they've literally just killed a lot of innocent people, you know, without even being asked the questions. So, you know, the legal system in Africa needs to change. You know, even if people like in America, you've seen when that terrorist in Boston a few years ago, when he did, I mean, literally the guy was captured, put in prison for a few years, looked after, even given medical care until he faced trial. I mean, you know, people need to have faith in the judicial system of that country. But once you do stuff like this, where people are being killed, targeted either for their ethnicity, for their religion, you are effectively increasing and multiplying your problem. And now these terrorist groups can say, oh, see, you're being hated. Why don't you come and join us and fight? So that is a problem, brother. I agree with you 110%. Yeah.
On that note, before I let the brain speak again, thank you for reminding me, Al-Kebulan. I shared this today on my Insta story, by the way. Guys, today it's a Revolution Day. In Zanzibar, January 12th. It happened in 1964. You can see a little bit of that. A group of African youth led a revolution on the island of Zanzibar, overthrowing the nation's independence government that had been established only a month prior. So, yeah, congratulations to Zanzibar. You guys, if you don't know, Zanzibar is an island here in Tanzania. It's in Tanzania, by the way. So today they were having this, I think it's all over the news here. It's such a beautiful event, and it reminds us as youth that we can actually do a revolution. We can, I don't know how to say this word, but we can do that in Africa as well. Things that we are talking about today, let this be our encouragement. Let this be our motivation, that we can actually have the government we need. We can have the society, the community we want, if we determine, if we come together as one and pursue and marching towards one thing, one goal, peace, love, and unity. We can definitely achieve that in Africa. But it needs people who are hungry and they want to see change right now. Not tomorrow, right now. To work as if it's your last moment right now to bring about change into Africa. So shout out to Zanzibar, by the way.
No, shout out, congratulations to them. And it is actually a very interesting point to note as well. Like, you know, a lot of young people have always stood up and, you know, sort of, you know, for their country against the colonizers. We have a similar history in Somalia, where we had the group called Somali Youth League, SYL, who are very much celebrated all over Somalia. They have been fighting actively. These are young men and women, against the colonial power of Britain, Italy, and France, even at some point. So, yeah, shout out to Zanzibar and Tanzania, I suppose, right? This is It shows you that the youth are really the future, and people need to take accountability and stand up and fight for what they believe in.
Yeah. Yes. The brain.
First, thank you guys. Thank you, Mika, for always taking the initiative to bring a voice to issues that are going to be ignored and put aside. Because, like, I can guarantee you, the headlines will be full of Somalians killing each other, right? That will be the Western headline, but nobody's going to cover the story behind it. Okay, I intentionally asked the question of Somaliland and Puntland so that my brothers and sisters from Somalia will have an opportunity to tell the world that Somalia is one. It doesn't matter. You can label all sort of things, but Somalia and Somali people are one people. So it doesn't matter what borders separate them, but their spirit and their sensibility and who they are as people, as great people, as a people who hold so much of space and substance and history and the making of Africa and the construct of Africa. And I think I want our Somali brothers and sisters to begin to push that narrative forward and begin to reclaim the story, reclaim the narrative. And then, so to me, the problem is not whether we have the laws, or whether we have the security, or whether we have the money, whether we have all of those things are a manifestation of a much deeper problem. To me, the much deeper issue for me personally, and the way I see it, is it plays out so well individually, but it does also play out clearly in communities, is the sense of worth. How much is a Somali worth? I'm not talking about money. Money, in terms of money, is the weakest form of valuation. Money is a valuation in the absence of a better and a true method of valuating something. So I think I hear something in the background. Sorry.
We can hear you, brother.
Oh, you can hear me? Okay. So what I wanted to point out, that we need to elevate the conversations to the issue of worth, the issue of humanity, that we disregard with no impunity, with no accountability. That sense of the person, the community, and the society, the culture, the history, the values, the faith, the struggles and the loves and the pain, and all of those things are important issues for ordinary Africans. Their music, their laughter, and the joy and the grief, these are the things that add up to building up what is the sense of worth. The things that you produce, the things you innovate, you create, and you change and grow, plant and take down, all of those things. So we need to begin to say Somalians are worth more than this. Somalis are worth more than being the tools and instruments of feeling like they don't deserve the equal rights that other countries take for granted. They deserve to have peace. They deserve to have the peace of mind and the sense of feeling that they can aspire to be somebody, that they can feel comfortable to go out, pray, communicate, and share. So to me, we need to fight for those things. Once we fight for those things, then the laws will be okay. Let's have laws to preserve that. Let's have economies to promote it, and let's have securities to protect it. So then the operationalization of how you protect that worth will be matching that. So the security apparatus that we have, the economies that we have, the politics and the laws that we have matches the way we see ourselves. Because we don't value ourselves, because we don't value ourselves as much as we should be valuing, then our economy is not as valuable, and our energy is not as valuable. Our art is not as valuable. Our security doesn't have enough value, or is not provided the enough resources, sufficient resources to meet the demand and the need of that worth that I'm talking about. We don't spend enough time talking about it. We just move from one news article to another news. I guarantee you, if we don't address the issue of worth, the human worth, we will be having this conversation again and again and again. And God has a way of keep sending you the same message, keep sending you the same challenges until you figure out, oh, I realize, oh, okay, I just need to grow here. I need to grow on this space. I need to grow my understanding of myself and my community. To me, that's where we are stuck in Africa. We're stuck in figuring out who we are, not necessarily what we will need to do, but who we are. Who we are human beings. We're not different from anybody in anywhere, in any planet, and any part of the planet. We are the same as everybody. We aspire and strive for the same thing. Our children are the same as other children. Our mothers are the same as any other, if not better. African mothers are probably better than any other mothers in the world, because they have to protect and preserve under various difficult circumstances where they have no way of guaranteeing protecting their security. So I feel like we don't spend enough time, or we don't devote enough amount of energy on the fundamentals. And because of that, we just jump on how to do this and how to do that. Hey, we should do this. How? We spend too much time on how, not on the what and the why. We don't spend enough time on the substance of what we're dealing with, what we're working with. And that, to me, that is the frustrating part for me. Personally, I'm always frustrated with it. Like, I mentor a lot of people. I work with a lot of people in the education field. And the first challenge I always have is helping them overcome that part. Once they overcome that part, individuals and communities, I've seen them really transform. And no problem is a problem. Every problem is an advantage. Every problem is an opportunity to grow and learn and grow. That is the thing that is fun. Of course, some basic securities are important, given what we have, but we have to work with what we have. If the security that we have is what we have to figure out a way to grow that security. In order to grow that security, you need to create opportunities for young people to navigate life, to say, you know what, today I'm a child, tomorrow I'm a young person, and the next day I'm adult making decisions of life, whether to settle down and marry and grow and send my kids to school. And then those things we need to elevate them to a sense of worth, not just to things to do, to who we are. I wanted to make that point, and I appreciate you guys listening to me.
Yeah, thank you, brother. I just want to say, first of all, thank you for your earlier statement when you said you're right, Somalis are one. I really appreciate it. And we as Somalis, we have the same ethnicity, same language, same religion. Obviously, it's a point of contention when we see others who want to divide ourselves. So I really appreciate it, and I think that goes for a lot of Somalis, including our. When you say that comment, so thank you very much for that. And I think the point that you made is truly excellent, and I can see Micah already highlighted it. What is the life worth? What is a Somali life worth? And Micah, if you don't mind, I can just touch upon that if you don't mind. So yeah, it's an excellent point. We need to look at ourselves as an African, as a human being. When we see the European and Westerners, how much they value their life. The comment here that's been posted is, they hold anniversaries for the death of people that have died. Of course, all life are equal. One life is not more worthy than others. But in the day, you also have looked at yourself, how much you value your own life. Once I think security has been destabilized, especially in the case of Somalia. People, unfortunately, have been conditioned to, see the life of fellow Somalis as, as not that much worth. I think the famous song by the Somali musician K9, one of his songs, he said in Mogadishu, life is cheap, but freedom is free, So, and that to me encapsulates everything. So, every time when I went to Somalia in January 2020, one of my friends, he took me to a restaurant that in the attack of 2017, where I think over 500 people have died, which is the biggest terrorist attack that has the biggest number of victims. And that it was a hotel with a restaurant, and it has been completely destroyed because it happened right near it. And when I went there, he asked me, what do you see? Do you see anything, destruction, anything like that? And I was actually surprised. It looked very beautiful. It was built. It was, they rebuilt the entire restaurant. It looked very nice and beautiful. And, the point he wanted to make, he said, look, people's life is being lost, but, we need to carry on, right? We cannot stand still and sort of, become victim, because the definition of terrorism is to terrorize you to the point that you cannot live your life. That's what the definition of terrorism is, if you look it up. So they want us to terrorize for us not to live our lives. But as much as we do that, we also have to understand how much our lives are worth. Even if America, they make movies about the Black Hawk Down. A lot of you guys know when America went to Somalia in Mogadishu, and a lot of people have died. More number of Somalis have died than the 19 or 20 people that American soldiers said that have died. But yet they felt they needed to create a movie out of it just so they can, show people. So your question, I really like, which is, you're right. We have to look at ourselves. How much is our life worth? And the other point I want to mention is, as African, to the wider African community is, there's not much of a civic engagement or involvement by the average person, because there's not much trust in a lot of the institutional system in our country. When you don't have no trust in the justice system, when you have no trust in the police system or anything like that, people don't engage in order to make it better. And that creates a problem in my eye, right? One of the brothers from Kenya mentioned earlier, for example, about extrajudicial killings by the police or whoever, right? And that's just not just Kenya. It happens a lot of other places. And, when your own people, when your own government are killing people willy-nilly just based on mere allegation before even put to trial, then you cannot keep blaming the Western. You have to also look at yourself. How much is the life of Kenyans or Somalis or Nigerians are worth? So that is the problem. So we also have to look at societal as well. What can we do? I mean, life, of course, is important, but we need to work towards building a society that enables and put a lot of worth in the person's worth of their life, So yeah, I just wanna raise that point.
So I've been following these YouTubers from Somalia. I think some of them are from Ethiopia, but some of them I think from Somaliland. But they I think earlier somebody said, Somalis, the Somalis, they just think of Somalia as one. And it doesn't matter where they are. And that's what I noticed in them. And then they do travel, and then I don't understand the Somali, the language, but I see the visual and then I get it. They are like the beauty, the way they eat, the way they dance, the music, the things that are important for average Somalis. And I'm like, this is quite fascinating. There are people in Somalia doing things like that. I'm like, this is not something that is the mainstream, but this somebody making the initiative to really shed light on the way Somalia is and Somalis are, their life and and then it elevated my understanding of Somalia. It really elevated my understanding of Somalia. Sometimes the way we promote our word is just being what we are, who we are, right? We care about something, just be that. And then the other person sees that. So yes, we don't value this, we don't value that. We can say that somebody doesn't value you. Okay, let that person own the not valuing you, but you own the valuing you. And then to see who ultimately wins. And I guarantee you, more often than not, in any human history, we always, or the winner always is the one that says, you know what, humanity is above all things, and I see the humanity in other person, even if their language, even if their faith, their religion, and their things they do doesn't really jive much with me. But so I really like, so these YouTubers are like have really like changed my understanding and appreciation of the Somali people in a very ordinary way. It's not even an extraordinary way, just in a very ordinary, simple way. Just looking at them, not necessarily understanding the language, but I wish I could understand the language, because of what I'm seeing is actually telling me so much, as much as probably what they would say and what I would have heard him say. So that to me is one of those examples of that we need to promote. That's why I'm so in support of Swahili Nation, because that's the kind of things that we're trying to do. Really cut the corner, and then cut the corner, and instead of relying on concentrated power, that's concentrated that comes from the center, that comes from our government and organization. Take the initiative, take the agency of your own agency, and do as much as you can, and push that boundary of what you can on a daily basis. Push it further. Before you know it, you push so much. And those are the kind of people that are doing so much. With the Maya's video was the same thing. It did the same. It did even more for me. Like when he went to Somalia, it's all shaking and scared, but completely transformed at the end of the trip. Like visiting places where, that place there was a bomb some time ago, and look at how it's changed. Look at how it is alive and thriving right now. To me, that is the thing worth promoting and pushing. And then not be the tool of, because the terrorist and terror is an instrument. It's an instrument. It's not an accident. It's an instrument trying to achieve some political goals. We need to find a way to raise the cost of having to use terror as a tool, and force people who need to use terror as a tool to the table, be it foreigners or homegrown. We need to elevate the game so high that those things become prohibitively morally reprehensible and prohibitively too expensive to do, and that requires a sense of humanity that says we are poor, but we stand against it. We stand up against it. So we need to start the Somali people need to have that conversation within the family unit, among themselves. When I say the Somali people,
I think the brother
hello?
cut off.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Sorry, my every time somebody calls me or something, I stop hearing you guys. If you can hear me, can you say thumbs up? Can I see thumbs up, Mika? Can you hear me? Okay. So after I finish my point, I have to restart my tab every time somebody calls my phone, and then it's just the audio just messes up. I don't know what Apple is doing. Is this? But anyways, the point I want to make was that we need to really miniaturize the assignment. Miniaturize it. Make it simple. Make it small. Make it manageable. Make it family unit. We will use these big platforms, big place to make the cases, to argue the cases, but on a community basis, the conversations need to begin about we need to think about what does it mean to be a Somali? What does it mean to be an Ethiopian? What does it mean to be an African? What are the philosophies that we should aspire to? What did our ancestors want from us? What would they have liked to see? What would my parents would have liked to see? Would they like me to do better than them? What are the kind of country? What's the kind of country, continent, an opportunity for the next 50, 100 years that we want to live? Those kind of small but miniaturized conversations about having to make sure we build up the groundswell of people who really understand who they are and what they value, what is important to them, and how they want to execute that, and then begin to elevate it. Slowly at the beginning, but before you know it, you get to a critical mass, and critical mass is not necessarily 50 plus above, sometimes 20%, and then that critical mass will transform things, will change things, will tip the scale to the other side, and then before we know it, all these atrocities, all this pain, we would have forgotten about it. At least our children would forget about it. we will never remember it, because we would have created something that speaks to them, that links to them, that respect them, that makes them feel like they are worth something and someone. So I wanted to make that point. Thank you guys. I will have to restart my iPhone. No, not my iPhone, but the tab here on Safari. So I would just step out. Thank you.
No worries. Micah, can I just say one point the brother raised, which was about when he mentioned about the videos that he sees, and that is a very interesting point to point out. As Somalis, we have been very tired. Our narrative being written by the Westerners and other international news agencies, that the only image that has created is every time when people look up Somalia or Mogadishu, it's always about explosion, destruction, famine, all these kind of things. So a lot of young people, Somalis, they have felt the need to step up in order to take back the initiative so they can push it back. So there's a lot of the videos, and I'm happy that the brother mentioned that he's come across some of those videos. These are young people that are, showcasing the world what Somalia is all about. It's not only about explosion. It's also worth pointing out that, yes, unfortunately, explosion has happened in Mogadishu today, but, Mogadishu is a capital city, but there's a lot of other cities. Somalia is a massive country. If you actually project it on Europe, you would literally, the north would be like Scandinavian countries, and the south will come all the way the south of Spain, maybe in the tip of North Africa. That's how big it is. So, it's a massive land, and there's a lot of parts of it that are very safe. And, a lot of the young people, they want to show that Somalia is not only always about that. It's a beautiful land. There's a lot of opportunities, a lot of things to see. And I would encourage a lot of people to see it. And the brother that he mentioned as well, that went there, I watched his videos, went to Mogadishu. Obviously, he got shown around a lot. I just have one point, which is when he went to the North Somalia again, he said Somaliland. So that's my only issue with that, because in the end of the day, Somalia is, one country as it is. But yeah, I'm glad you're watching that. And the other point I want to raise that's linked to that is as well, there's a lot of other people that have actually gone and for the sole purpose to show the good side of Somalia. And unfortunately, they have been targeted and they have been killed. Alshabab, again, is being said that it's them, but I have my own theory. It might not be even them, because we have a lot of scenarios of people as recent as Hodan Nahale, who's from the north part of Somalia, who relocated from Canada to Somalia, and her sole purpose was to try to show the good side of Somalia. She has an official YouTube channel. I think it's called Integration TV, I think. It's still available. Her videos are still, people can watch it. And, she's done a great job of reconnecting to the youth, try to show them what they can do. And, she was doing a lot of good things. And she was taken out. She was killed, she was pregnant. She was with her husband, and they killed both of her. I think 2019, I think it was. And she's not the only one. Other ones, it happened the same thing. People that have went back to the country in order to try to show the good side, they've all come. They've all been taken out. God knows who long. So I feel like there's, a system in place of people that, don't want to show the good side of Somalia. But, still right now, we still have enough people. And I'm glad the brother and others, they have seen videos of people that want to promote the image and show it. It's very important to show that, look, Somalis, we're tired of it. If you type in Mogadishu, there's two spellings of Mogadishu, by the way. There's the international English version, and then there's a Somali version that ends with the U. If you write it, there's two different images will come up on Google. One, you will only see carnage, destruction, terrorism, and the other one you will see just images of the country, and that shows you, because we Somalis, when we spell it the right way, Google show it that. But obviously, Google gets the information from other websites and news agencies who only show the bad side. So that is the issue. And when people have been subjected to accept the condition of people will die. You know what? This person died today. It's fine. Tomorrow we'll bury him. Then life is not that much worth, because people are being stopped from understanding, like the brother said, engaging the society, trying to have building something, a future for themselves, for their neighbors, for their kids. Once people start engaging civically through that sort of means, then, people will understand the importance of preserving life. But if people are being stopped if certain politicians are being put in place by certain groups who prevent that sort of situation, not just Somalia, this whole of Africa, if you think about it, there's a lot of other African countries, a lot of people in the diaspora are leaving to Europe and other Western countries because they see there's not much life going on. The system that have been put in place, or even being funded or supported by the Western countries, will never allow them in order to move up. If there's no a ladder societally, people can climb up. They can say, today I'm like this, but there's a hope or potential that I can move somewhere else. If that has been removed, then you have a society that won't engage, that won't improve the life of that country, and you will have a disconnect, and that is the problem. So we have to, and I think we are at the new front where we are using social media for the good side, and as my brother mentioned, so Swahili Nation being one of them, trying to show the good side of Africa. Honestly, we need to use these sort of platforms in order to push the narrative, push it back, and show that Africa, is young. Africa is ready now. There's not only do we have resources in terms of in the countries, but the people are also the resources. The workforce. It's worth remembering Africa suffered hugely after the slave trade in America, where they've effectively picked, the strongest people from West Africa and took over to America and other parts. So, Africa suffered because of that. The workforce has been taken away, but it's been recovering. There have been several, 100 years ago, but it's the effect that the Western has caused on us, and we need to recognize it, and we need to try to understand how much we can improve. Thank you.
On that note, let me just say this, guys. I have done 1 year ago, I've done a special episode on Somalia. I did it of Ethiopia as well. I did of Tanzania, I believe. This is Somalia. If you can see this one, number 1 right here. It's 1 year ago. Did you know Somalia? There's different facts that we talked about here. 27 minutes long. Me and my my partner, my friend Asali, we spoke a lot about that. So please, you can go ahead and watch that, and I'll share the link in the comment section. But also, I would like to ask you guys, since I have two Somalis, right? That's right. That's the right way to say it, right? Well, Sami.
Yes, you're doing a good job. Thank you.
Since I have you guys here, guys, like any ideas that you guys you wanna share, maybe in the future you'd like to come here to say something about Somalia, or to present something about Somalia, things that people they usually don't talk about, right? We can do something like that here as well. Whenever you guys want to do something like that, you just let me know. You know how to find me, and I'll give you a session to educate the world and Africa as well about Somalia, because there's a lot of people, they just think negative about Somalia, but I do know, because I had to do a lot of research to do that video 1 year ago up to right now. I know how beautiful, how amazing that country is, and I think you guys, you can play that role to bring that awareness to the rest of Africa and the world as well. So anytime, any day, you guys are welcome to do that. All right.
By the way, that video, we watched them a lot of times. I remember watching the reaction when it came out. So very beautiful video, and honestly did enjoy the reaction of both of you guys.
Yeah. That energy, man. I miss that energy, to be honest. Yeah. Hopefully I'll start doing reaction, soon in the near future, because I miss, Somali music as well. I miss my boy Shama Boy, my boy Lil Balil, King CK. I miss them. So hopefully I'll start doing this.
Man, I remember writing comments on those videos saying, when are you going to review K9, one of my favorite Somali rappers, man? That's the love for the Troubadour. You need to review those, man. Come on.
Yes, yes, man. And I did reaction for Kenan, of his song, the popular song as well. He did some collaborations with Shama Boy. I did that. Hopefully I'm gonna get back very soon to do reaction on them, because I really miss doing that. So hopefully.
No, definitely. No, shout out to This Fit Philosopher. It came out 2006. Honestly, check that out. His best album of all time. So you will definitely like it. One of the songs that you reviewed was his second album, Troubadour Waving Flags. That was the remix for the World Cup. A lot of people don't know that. That was just a commercial one. I really didn't like it. The original one is in Troubadour. It's actually more melodic. It has a bit of a sort of a sad tone to it. It has more meaning to it. I would definitely encourage you. I'll send you the videos. I'm really looking forward to your reaction, Michael.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Finger crossed. All right. I want to hear you guys, your final statement, anything that you guys want to, share and talk. If there's anything you want to say, about, Somalia and what is going on, I'll give an opportunity to Awa first. Awa, it's been a while hearing you.
I think Awa might be having a problem, I think.
Yeah, because she has been, living and coming back
Connecting,
for.
yeah.
Yeah. Mwenda Tezi, what about Mwenda Tezi?
Hello.
Hey, my brother. First of all, I appreciate you, brother, because I love your your points, your ideas, how you do it. I don't know how you do it, but I can tell you're a really smart guy, and I'm just glad to have you, in the team. We are together here, so I appreciate you, brother.
Thank you for the appreciation. Means a lot.
Always.
Okay, I wanted to speak about the East African community
Oh
because
yeah.
I was asked that question. Let me just speak it as my closing statement.
Yes.
2021 was a very, to me, it was a disappointing year for the East African community. There was not much integration that was promised because they didn't even talk about the constitution, man. And it was supposed to be ratified this December, man, when they met, and they've not talked about it. So it means they did not agree on something. So that's unfortunate. I don't know. But the pluses is that they endorsed Congo to enter the East African community. They are actually considering Somalia is actually being considered. I think there's a team going to be sent out to Somalia. I don't know, I think for negotiations and to see how best they can enter the East African community. So that's also good news. And maybe it'll lead to what my brother was trying to suggest, more integration, more sharing of information and intelligence. So, that would be good news, hopefully. And and also there was the talk of maybe we'll be using one currency in 2023. So basically that is the news of East African community so far. But they still the political will there is there for pushing to our further integration, maybe so that we can actually form the East African Federation. Yeah, that's it. And to my Somali brothers, I hope we come together and deal with these problems that we have. Most of them are common because if you look at northern Kenya, if that economy of northern Kenya is really dependent on the stability of Somalia, because if Somalia is stable, then northern Kenya becomes a very good place to invest. And there are so many investors that want to go to northern Kenya, but they're afraid of the Alshabab because that border between Kenya and Somalia is porous. It is, as my brother can say, a fugitive can leave Somalia and go to Kenya, and there is nobody can know, Or a fugitive can leave Kenya and go to Somalia. Nobody can know. It is just something. There is really. So I am also for. It is for the best interest of everybody in East Africa that a stable Somalia with a government, it will really just boost everything, and also our economies will benefit all of us. So so that is my finishing point. Thank you for the forum.
Yeah, man. My wish is that all these countries like, Somalia, Ethiopia, and all these countries that are in the eastern side of Africa to be in EAC. That is my wish. And it's a good news that there's a talk with Somalia, there's a talk with Congo, and, hopefully later on Ethiopia as well, because all these places are East Africa. So we really need to strengthen. Imagine if all these countries, we're using the same currency, we're using the same passport. There's a lot of free movement to move here and there. Man, that would be something really, really beautiful. I appreciate Mwenda Tezi for sharing that with us. My sister Awa, what is your final message?
The brother before me summarized it very well. I think looking forward, we need more cooperation. There's a lot of undercurrents that people are not aware of. What's going on the ground, and I think sharing information and letting people know what's going on is very important. So that everybody's on board and that we're not, blinded or ignorant to the circumstances of what each country is facing. So I agree with him on that. And this region, East Africa, is extremely, I think if we start stabilize it, it's going to be, you know, the most economically advanced region in Africa. And I feel like once we stabilize East Africa, we can really help our West African brothers and sisters and help them, whatever, you know, and try to understand what's going on. You know, we need to have more information, because I really honestly don't know what's going on in West Africa. Like, who are these players? Who are these actors? What are the regional interests of these countries? So yeah, like, I feel like once we, you know, really stabilize our regions, we can really help other African regions as well.
Appreciate it.
And that's my closing comments.
Appreciate for that. What are some?
Thank you very much. I want to thank the brother as well for the comment that he made. I agree with it, and I'm also definitely keep an eye out and interested how the East African Federation is going to come about. I hope they do things like you know, currency, make it stronger, because obviously, like, you know, that's another issue. You know, economically, allow free traveling, borderless traveling, so increase entrepreneurship and business, you know, and trade of goods that are coming in and out. I don't know why Kenya is not part of it. I think last time I checked, Kenya wasn't part of the East African Federation, but I'd be interested to know if there's a hope or a potential to join. Again, Somalia would be good to join, Ethiopia in the long run. So yeah, I mean, there is another thing called Acct, which Somalia is part of. I think there is between Sudan, Ethiopia, Djibouti, Somalia, Burundi, I think, I can't remember. It's about 6 countries as well. So that already exists. But, you know, anything that can, as the brother said, that can increase cooperation, either economically, either intelligence-wise. We need that sort of a union and bloc in East Africa to work. And also, as the brother mentioned, the issue of northern Kenya is obviously will have an impact of what is going on in Somalia. So if Somalia today becomes stable, where we can, you know, manage our border, where we can, you know, control it, that people cannot freely cross in and out, that will also increase the security of Kenya as well. You know, I mean, you cannot have a safe country and his neighbor is burning. You cannot have that. You know, you need to be able to make sure your neighbors is also, you know, safe. And, you know, you don't have people taking advantage of that lawlessness, because that will eventually come and affect you. And that's what's happened in Kenya. You know, when Alshabab went and, you know, did a couple of terrorist attacks in Nairobi. I know they also carried out in other parts of Kenya as well, but the ones that happened in Nairobi was obviously truly shocking when they went to the mall and, you know, other attacks they've done. So yeah, I want to end on a good note. You know, again, I want to stress that observing Somalia throughout the last 5 years, in comparison to the last 15 years beforehand, I can definitely say we are on the road of recovery. There's a lot of things that have been put in place economically as well. I mean, when you go to the capital, there's a lot of young people that are all aspiring, either going back to university. You know, like, it has a high rate of university graduation in Somalia right now. And that shows you, again, a lot of young people moving away from the tribalism to terrorism in order to try to improve their lives. Economically as well, there are people that in the past might have been, like, you know, wanted to get involved into warlordism, but right now they wouldn't want that, because now they have businesses that are growing, you know, hotelier, the tourism industry, you know, all these type of things. So economical prosperity will only mean good thing for Somalia. And to me, that is indication or indicative to how the country is moving forward. So I want to remind people, yes, you know, today's attack is a damper. We all have our prayers and thoughts to the victims that have died, and we hope the injuries and their families can recover in good time. But that's what terrorism wants. Terrorism wants us to be doom and gloom and have no hope, but there is hope. Let's not forget about that. So I hope the Kenyan government and Somali government can set aside their differences, and that will only be beneficial for the average person, where we have a scenario not only between Kenya and Somalia, but whole of East Africa, Ethiopia as well, you know, where people can trade between themselves, where people can set up businesses, you know, set up a train system that today you can catch in Mogadishu, and you will travel all the way to, you know, Kampala, for example, in Uganda. You know, that would be something good, right? Where you can work, you can sleep in one country, but you can work in another country. So I hope these things are happening, and, you know, only with Somalia becoming stronger and better will only mean good thing for the region. And I hope people, you know, I hope they understand. Somalia hopefully will come back, and Somalis are, let's remember, they're true believer in Pan-Africanism. They believe in African Union, So I want to end on that note, Micah.
I really appreciate. Thank you so much, guys. I want to appreciate you for stepping out here today and being ready to share the information and your voice about what just happened in Somalia. Osame, special gratitude to you. Our Mwenda Tezi, at the brain. I want to appreciate you guys. And I want to appreciate One Africa Forum, people that are there. I mean, One Africa Movement. We have WhatsApp group, and I was able to know what's going on with Somalia through the group. Somebody just, texted there, and I was like, hey, breaking news. And that was like a few minutes before. It was like 30 minutes. Yeah, it was like 30 minutes before we started the live stream here. And after seeing that, I just contacted my brother, Walsame, and I believe he contacted Awa, and we came here and we were talking about this. So I appreciate for you guys. Anytime, please feel free to share with us any breaking news that is happening in Africa. Anything that is happening in Africa, I share the link in the comment section. That is our WhatsApp group. If you share us there, I think we'll be able to see it, and our people, our team will be able to go, right away to cover it. So please, for any breaking news, for anything that is happening in Africa, a lot of things are happening. And sometimes, we might not cover it because we don't know, right? We don't have all the information sometimes. So whether it's Mozambique, whether it's Western Africa, Southern Africa, anywhere, please let us know what is going on so that we may have a conversation here with real African people. I appreciate it, guys. I will let you go for now, and I'll be closing session for today. I think this was very productive conversation, and I appreciate for coming here willingly and share your thoughts. Appreciate it, guys.
Micah, thank you very much for having us. I really appreciate it. And it's always a pleasure to speak to you and get these points across. And I'm looking forward to future cooperations.
Yes, always, always, always. Appreciate it, guys. I love you. Have a good day, good afternoon, good night, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, guys. So that's it. For those who didn't know what is going on in Somalia or what happened, I think now you have a little bit of a picture of what is happening there. If you just joined right now and you have no idea what we're talking about, please, you can go back to watch this video. This video, it's only 2 hours conversation, so you can go back and watch and see what has happened. It's very important, but also it's very important to use your social media, whatever that you have, to shout out, send your condolences, and whatever that you want to do to the people of Somalia, because I can imagine that it's not an easy day for a lot of our brothers and sisters in Somalia right now and outside of Somalia as well. Once again, congratulations to Zanzibar and Tanzania for 58 years since revolution happened there in Zanzibar. I shared with you guys a little bit before, but this youth, Tanzanian youth, who wanted to really see difference in the government of Zanzibar, they did it. They did it in 1964, January 12th, and today we're remembering that and we're celebrating that. It's a proof that African youth, when we are together, when we're united, and we can see the change. We can actually change our governments. We can change our environment, not like in a beautiful way, right? Not in a violent way, but in a beautiful way. We can make some changes. And I think it's a time for us to say no more within Africa, no more to terrorism, no more to anything and everything that is not aligned with our values. No more to, tribalism, no more to, religion, no more to all those stuff, things that they always divide us. You can still have your religion. I can still have my religion, and we can still cooperate and being one. It's very, very important. Before I finish, I share this question on Twitter as we will continue to have this conversation. I wanted to get different ideas. I always share some different ideas there to get, it's kind of like doing a little bit of research. So I'm going to read a few comments, and then I'll be signing off. All right. My question was this. All right. It was, how can we strengthen Africa and unite to fight against terrorism? I'm tired of seeing my people die because of terrorist attacks. It's a time to unite and take down terrorism for good. Right. As we were talking, I just had to go there and share. And there's a few comments here. Somebody said here, if any religion, climate activist, or charity people can create a global organization to deal with a certain task, I do not see any reason why can we not start Africa-wide group initially to discuss such matter and include all experts in this matter with all the precaution. Dang, I love this. This is such a good opinion, guys. He's talking about, this is so true. He's talking about all the religion, climate activists, charities, and different NGOs. They always create those kind of NGOs and all those kind of stuff to fight against this thing. But we don't see this happening. You know how many international organizations we have in Africa, and still we have the same issues over and over and over again. This guy, he believes in Africa. This guy is definitely Pan-African. He say, I don't see the reason why Africa we cannot initiate something. And it's true. We need to have some sort of, I don't know, if it is organization, if it's NGO, if it is whatever, that purposefully and specifically will deal with issues like this. You need that. That organization maybe has to be even within African Union, something that can purposefully, like it's a task force to fight against terrorism, just like you have a task force to fight against corruption, right? You need to have something like that. We can definitely have something like that. Instead of inviting all these international organizations coming in and taking advantage of Africa, we can have our own to take care of these issues. All right, somebody here is saying, sorry, terrorists disturbing the life of innocent people. As African, we have to develop strong community relation, youth organizations, elders, educated people, coming together, creating a strong social mobilization, not to host terrorists. Oh, this is good. This is kind of like things that we were talking about here about education and everything. Somebody here says, solution is simple, equal treatment of all Africa, ethnic and religion. That's so good. Look, all countries around Eritrea are in crisis while Eritrea is in peace, although it got sanctioned by West to create disharmony. No more ethnic and religion fanatics, and all Africans are equal. All right, I'll take that. All African are equal. That's a beautiful point right there. We should all treat everybody equal. All right. Somebody here, Rebecca, said, careful planned military raids of areas suspected and examined to have such activities. Like Somali terror in Addis Ababa, we know it's... all right, I'm not going to finish that. But I don't want to create another discussion here. But those are a few comments. Let me see. I share on YouTube as well. Let me see if anyone also commented there, because we have people everywhere. And I think I'll share on my Instagram as well to kind of find out what people say. Okay. All right. I have here on YouTube. If you go, guys, to YouTube, there's a community tab on YouTube. Let me show you here, guys. There is community tab on YouTube. If you go there, let me show you here. If you go here on YouTube and there's a community tab here, I always share some posts. I did some little bit of research, so I share the post that I posted on Twitter. And let's see. Somebody here says, keep the conversation of Pan-Africanism red hot. Don't ever allow the conversation to go cold ever again. No more Africa Unite. All right. Education, self-liberation. To hunt porcupines, you close a... All right. That's beautiful. So education. Brother, it's not terrorism that's killing Africa. It's actually racism. I believe you want to say racism, right? I might spell the word wrong. I only learned until high school, but still... Well, let me okay. Brother, you have Google, right? He said, brother, it's not terrorism that's killing Africa. It's actually racism. I might spell the word wrong. I only learned until high school, but still, who gives shit about English? Am I right or what? Oh my goodness, man! I love Swahili Nation community. These people, they, they make me happy. All right. Okay. Solomon is saying food insecurity is top of that list. Agroforestry and permaculture are the best way to grow and can be done on any land. But the people we have in power never listen to youth. I mean, I once offered to build a website for the country for free, but nothing. Not even a call. Okay, I'm sorry. This is not funny. Okay. The talent and knowledge is there. Our people invent for NASA, US, Europe, and yet our government does nothing to attract them back. I believe you want to say our people work for NASA. It's a mess, but I'm going to fix it with the help from other annoyed people who want change. African problem are my problems, and I am not running away from my. I love this guy. I love this guy. This guy, okay, he offered to create a website free for. I'm gonna ask him to create a website for One Africa. All right, guys, we need a professional looking good website for One Africa. So if anyone has a ability to do all those coding and to create, apart from there's different like Space Square, like Wix and all those kind of things that you can create website. Even the One Africa website right now that we have, I created by myself through Space something. I even forgot, right? But we want to create it from the beginning. So I think I will tell this guy that this is such a good comment. I'll comment to him to create a website for One Africa. Yeah. Let me read this comment. It's beautiful. Food insecurity is the top of that list. Once I offered to build a website for the country for free, but nothing, not even a call. The talent knowledge is there. Our people working for NASA, US, Europe, and yet our government does nothing to attract them back. It's a mess, but I'm going to fix it with the help from other annoyed people who want change. African problems are my problems, and I'm not running away from it. Shout out to this guy, Solomon. Shout out to Solomon, man. This is African spirit right here. You know what I'm saying? All right, let me text this guy. This is African spirit right here. Let me text him. Ask him to create. I appreciate my brother. Okay. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate you guys. Our session is done today. Let me just send my special appreciation to Robert, who donated today $5. I appreciate you, my brother. This guy, he's doing this every day. SN1 love, peace, and a push for unity. I appreciate Robert for that. I want to send my special gratitude to the members of Swahili Nation. You guys are always here. I appreciate Ghost. Appreciate the Brain. Appreciate Pi. Appreciate Mr. Reed. Bless you, brother. I cannot wait for a session very soon. I appreciate for all these members who are here supporting and also here always raising their voice. For instance, Ghost, he's always here, you know, texting, replying, having conversation going on. Pai and Yanatan, he's not here today, but he's always here most of the time. So I want to appreciate you guys specifically. I also want to appreciate those who are not members yet, but they are here all the time to share the idea, to support the movement, to support what we are doing. Thank you, guys. It means a lot. And for those who wants to join the membership, I think I haven't talked about this for a long time. So let me just show you guys what you can do for a moment before I leave, because we already finished today's sessions. So let me show you here a little bit. If you want to know a little bit more about membership and you're asking, you know, how can I join and what is all about and all those stuff, I will show you here, guys. This is the chance that you get to support you know, Swahili Nation in One Africa every single month in however you can. We have different options here. The first one is 2.99 DC, distance cousins, and we have CC, close cousin, 5.99, sibling to 9.99, senior sibling 49.99, SNP, Swahili Nation Partner 9.99 per month. So we have already people who are actually giving and supporting, and you can see they have a little badge in front of their names. So those are members, and if you want to join and if you want to become a member and support the movement, the link is in the comment section. Go through that and it will lead you direct to that. All right, I want to appreciate you guys, and you can support anyhow with membership, by super chats, super stickers, or Patreon. You can also do that, and I appreciate you guys so much. All right, I'm just gonna raise a word of prayer and I'll be signing out for today. God, we thank you for today. Thank you for Africa. Thank you for Somalia. Thank you for the comfort that you're releasing right now to our people there and their families that have lost, those people who were injured today. We pray for a full recovery. As we're discussing and having this honest conversation on how to move forward, how to bring about change to our beautiful continent. Help us to leave our difference behind. May our focus be unity. May our focus be love and peace, and not division, because it's not worthy. It's costing a lot of our lives, and a lot of people are dying every single day because of that. So help us to leave our ego and our pride aside and look at each other as brothers and sisters, because that's who we are. We might look different, we might speak different, we might coming from different families, but we are one people. We are Africans. So even right now, as I pray, I know some people, they might not be feeling well because it's Christian prayer, right? But help us, God, to leave aside all these differences and to look at the bigger picture and to welcome you, God, being at the center of our movement and everything we do, because at the end of the day, you are our help. You are a leader, and you are the supreme leader, and are looking after you. We appreciate you. I praise your name. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. All right, guys. Thank you. Why do you close your eyes? That's a good question. I close my eyes because I don't want to be distracted. Sometimes I don't close. You guys, you see that sometimes I don't really close. I just pray as I'm looking. But sometimes when I want to focus and when I don't want to be distracted, I close my eyes. That's why I close my eyes. Yes, I love this. The brain, he said, all the responses point to the fact that we are capable of addressing our challenges and building a continent worthy of history. Yes, definitely. 100%. All right, guys. I'll leave you guys. I love you so much. Thank you. Don't forget to love one another, spread peace wherever you are, and keep the unity, the bond of unity going on every single day. And keep praying for Somalia and Africa in general. Appreciate you guys. God bless y'all. I'll leave you guys here with with Swahili Nation subscription page, so that for those who didn't subscribe, you can go ahead and subscribe. Our goal is still to reach 200,000 subscribers. So please do so. Please do so. And I know a lot of you might want to know my updates about my trip to Ethiopia. Guys, it's going to come in God's timing. It's going to happen. Yeah, God's timing is the best. So, yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Just hang in there. Hang in there. Appreciate it, guys. Bye-bye.